Emotional Bonding Across Generations, a Systems Neurobiological and Time-Dependent Perspective No. 1510, BPT 069, January 21, 2026. Gerald C. EclaireMD Foundation, Category, Psychology and Neuroscience. Preface. After a hemorrhagic stroke in June 2025, I began a period of focused reflection and research to understand changes in brain function and emotional response following neurological injury. Over the next 180 days, I wrote approximately 200 papers related to neuroscience, stroke, and pathophysiology, and revisited earlier work in psychology. This effort was not driven by urgency or ambition, but by careful observation and analysis. This article presents an observational case study of grandparent emotional bonding under different early life conditions the subject has for grandchildren and shows equal responsibility, commitment, and long-term intention toward all of them. Financial and educational support were arranged equally and independently of emotional experience, reflecting a deliberate effort to ensure fairness across generations. Despite this equal commitment, the subject observed subtle differences in emotional closeness among the four grandchildren. These differences were not interpreted as preference, judgment, or unequal love. Instead, they appeared to rise from differences in early physical contact, timing, and interaction history. This study does not attempt to measure love. It examines how bonding patterns can differ even when intention and responsibility are the same. Using a viscoplastopological framework (VPT), emotional bonding is treated as a time-dependent and path-dependent process. Intention remains constant, while emotional response evolves based on early experience, timing, and irreversible history. Introduction. The subject experienced immediate emotional closeness when holding some grandchildren at birth. With others, early physical contact was delayed during the first year of life, and emotional closeness developed more gradually. Both experiences were genuine. These differences were not imagined or value-based. Later analysis showed that they follow well-known biological and neurological mechanisms described in neuroscience, developmental biology, and systems science. In particular, they follow the same time-dependent and path-dependent rules commonly used to explain long-term physiological disease progression and recovery. Early physical contact, such as holding a newborn in their arms right after birth, can create a close emotional bond almost immediately. This contact provides rich sensory input that activates basic caregiving circuits in the brain. These circuits work automatically and do not require conscious effort. They evolve to protect and support infant survival. When early contact happens, bonding starts quickly. When early contact is missing, bonding can still develop, but it usually forms more slowly and depends more on repeated interaction. From a systems point of view, early conditions shape long-term paths. Intention alone does not override biology. The nervous system responds to what actually happens, not to what is intended. Aging can strengthen these effects. With accumulated memory and a shorter future time horizon, emotional responses to newborns may become more intense. In addition, changes following stroke can reduce emotional filtering, making differences that were previously subtle easier to notice. This reflects increased sensitivity, not loss of control. This case study supports a simple idea. Equal love and responsibility can exist alongside an equal emotional closeness. The difference reflects different early paths, not preference. Emotional bonds can continue to grow, but early conditions affect how quickly and easily they form. Formal VMT representation of emotional bonding. This bonding process can be described using the viscoplastic medicine theory VMT framework. Similar to how long-term physiological conditions are modeled, strain represents the degree of emotional bonding, including strength of emotional resonance and depth of attachment. 3 input stressors are defined below. 1. Physical contact exposure. This includes how often and how long direct physical contact occurs, such as holding a newborn against the chest, supporting the head and body, feeling warmth, breathing rhythm, and staying close for sustained periods. Low values reflect infrequent or brief contact, or absence of early physical contact. 2. Emotional openness with sensory richness. This describes how fully emotional signals are allowed in, together with how much sensory detail is registered. High values occur when contact includes warmth, smell, movement, sound, eye contact, and an open emotional state. Low values indicate muted emotion or reduced sensory detail, even if contact occurs. 3. Neuroreceptivity. This reflects how ready the nervous system is to respond to emotional and sensory input at a given time. When neuroreceptivity is high, contact produces an immediate and strong internal response, such as a spontaneous urge to protect or care and lasting emotional effect. When it is low, responses are weaker, delayed, or require repeated exposure. Neuroreceptivity is not a personality trait. It changes with age, fatigue, stress, neurological state, and recovery from injury. It reflects how open the nervous system is to being shaped by experience at that moment. In VMT's engineering terms, viscosity describes how quickly emotional strain responds to input over time, while plasticity represents lasting imprinting from early experience. Early physical contact has a much stronger effect at the beginning of a relationship. When a newborn is held right after birth, the emotional bond can form almost immediately, later in life. The same kind of contact still helps, but it works more slowly and needs to happen many times. This is why early bonding feels instant, while later bonding develops gradually, even when care and intention are the same. The VMT data analysis results. This section presents quantitative results from a VMT analysis of a single longitudinal case involving grandparent and grandchild bonding. This model integrates the emotional bonding as the output strain, 3 normalized input stressors, and cumulative viscoplastic energy across 6 periods P0 to P5. Strain-stress relationship bonding strain increased rapidly from P0 to P2, reaching a maximum at P2, then declined gradually from P3 to P5. All 3 stress inputs rose early and then declined later. This pattern of strain-stress or output input shows a viscoplastic response, where early exposure creates lasting effects even after input decreases. During P1 and P2, modest stress inputs produce large increases in strain, indicating high sensitivity early on. After P2, stress inputs became negative, reflecting reduced or absent interaction. Despite this, strain did not return to baseline, confirming partial irreversibility. Sign reversal and viscous memory. From P3 onward, stress inputs were negative while strain remained elevated. This sign reversal indicates unloading with retained memory from earlier exposure. The system retained effects from early periods even when later input decreased. A key viscoplastic feature: cumulative VMT energy distribution. Cumulative energy rose rapidly from P0 to P2, reaching 105.41%, then stabilized near 100% by P5. Most energy was accumulated early. Later periods added little, showing that timing mattered more than total effort. VMT energy contribution ratios. 3 VMT energy contributions were nearly equal across inputs. Physical contact equals 30.7%, emotional openness equals 33.3%, and neuroreceptivity equals 34.0%. No single factor dominated. Bonding emerged from their combined interaction. Summary of quantitative findings. Analysis shows that early inputs produced most long-term bonding strain. Strain persisted after later withdrawal, energy saturated early, and contributions from all 3 inputs were balanced. Emotional bonding followed time-dependent viscoplastic behavior rather than linear elastic response. Conclusion: some emotional bonds formed faster than others because early contact was different. That is a normal human response, not a judgment or a choice. Early physical and emotional contact strongly affects how bonding begins. When contact happens early, bonding forms quickly. When contact is delayed, bonding still forms, but more slowly. Equal care and intention do not always lead to identical emotional patterns because timing matters. The same system rules that govern long-term mortality disease development apply here. Early conditions shape the path. Later effort still helps, but it cannot fully remove the effect of early experience. Noticing these differences simply means emotional sensitivity is present and working. It does not indicate emotional loss or damage. Ethical disclosure: case descriptions are anonymized and presented for educational purposes. No individual is identified or evaluated. Disclaimer: write this paper not for fame, but to share what I have learned so others can understand their health, prevent disease, and live longer, healthier lives. This content is provided for educational reference only and does not constitute medical advice. No doctor-patient relationship is created. You may share this summary freely, but it must not be altered or republished as your own. All intellectual property rights belong to the author. Gerald C.